And now, allegedly, where we slow the story down. This is about insight versus impact, learning from what we observe. Instead of paying the price ourselves, their experiences become our education. So growth doesn't have to come with damage.
All right. So, thank you so much for staying with us. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. And I just want to say good evening, everyone. Welcome to Refresh, Relax, Renew. I'm your host, Coach Racquel. This is a space where, let me hang on here. So, this is a space where we slow down, think deeper, and find growth opportunities hidden inside everyday life. Tonight, we're talking about rebuilding after mistakes, rebuilding after criticism, rebuilding after disappointment, and rebuilding after life doesn't go according to plan. All right? Because every setback does not have to become a stopping point. Sometimes it becomes a turning point. Take a deep breath and let's begin. Now, it's time for allegedly growth to gossip. All right. Now, allegedly is where truth meets opinion and headlines meet hard questions. And welcome to allegedly. And I just want to say that this segment is not about demeaning anyone, speaking negatively on anyone. It's about breakdowns that inspire our breakthroughs, inspire our self-work so we can experience breakthroughs in our lives. All right. So before we even get into the topic, let's just go to our fair use statement that I'll just go through. So, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All right. Yes. Now, let's get into the topic of the day. Let me see if I can get a different camera angle. Oh, this isn't bad. Yeah, this is a good angle. All right. So tonight's allegedly asks the topic for today, we're looking at Tasha K, Cardi B, accountability and reinvention. And as I say that, there is actually a clip I need to import. So just give me a second to do that. But we're going to be talking about the Tasha K thing and the legal issues she had with Cardi B. And the reason I find this important to talk about is as I listen to the different discussions and commentaries, is that what it's called? People who are commenting on it, as I listen to people talk about it and stuff, I just find it interesting and I thought, I'd like to say something about it. I would like to say something about it. So this is me taking an opportunity to just share my thoughts on it, add my voice to the conversation, right? So tonight's allegedly asks a bigger question than whether someone was right or wrong. What happens after a mistake? Can someone recover from public failure? Can someone chart a new path after a costly decision? And perhaps most importantly, how do we avoid becoming the very thing that once hurt us? Now, before I go even further, I would just like to say this, right? So just to kind of give an idea of what I'm talking about with regards to Cardi B and Tasha K. So Tasha K is a blogger, global, well-known, international, I would say, and all of this is my own understanding of what's happening. As you can see, I'm not reading this from the script, right? But Tasha K is a well-known blogger, one of those that I listen to. I can't listen to her all the time because I'm someone who I don't handle aggression well, and I don't like harsh critique of people. Like when I say harsh critique, I mean I think it's okay to comment on something and even to critique it. The challenge for me sometimes is if those critique becomes too, if I feel like it's going overboard, or if I feel like it's so damaging or so harsh, it's aggressive, it's very difficult for me to listen. So I love Tasha K, but I'm not like, and I'm a subscriber, but I'm not someone who listens deeply or all the time. I listen what I can listen and I get off because she's very passionate and she goes in. And I've seen a lot of growth in her. But anyway, so Tasha K is an international blogger, media personality, and someone who has built a business, a successful multi-million dollar business around her brand, right? And she has multiple brands, right? And there was a case where she had I think it was an interview that she held with someone where Cardi B was discussed. And apparently it was something that was prolonged, and it was something to do with a sexual transmitted infection. I'm not going to go directly into what exactly it was because I don't think it's relevant to what I'm going to be talking about. But it became legal. It was in court. Cardi B won. I think approximately 4 million, and all of this is alleged. Remember the name of the segment? Allegedly. All right. So everything here, all of what I'm saying, is alleged. But it went to court. They had a settlement, and Tasha K has been making payments because she's discussed this on her program and everything. However, what has been happening is, based on my understanding of what is happening, there's some comments that I've heard reportedly coming from Cardi B, and I'm listening to people talking about the issue, and I realize that persons are coming at Tasha K in such a way like, as though she deserves whatever comes, as though if she loses everything, well, it was your fault. And I'm not saying it isn't, but this is it, right? I always say this, and I even said this in the Sean Combs case. There's no need to use a hammer to kill an ant. Because what happens is when you use a hammer to kill an ant, the ant becomes the victim. Because onlookers are now thinking, oh my gosh, that was harsh. You could have just swat it. You can just swat the ant and it's dead. So why get an entire hammer? Like to what degree do you need this thing to suffer, right? And that's where, for me, the issue comes in. Where when I'm hearing reportedly or allegedly statements such as going towards Tasha K from the Cardi B camp, allegedly stating her kids will never see college doorway. She's coming for blood, things like that. First of all, this is business. It's business. It's not personal. And even if it gets personal, it is still business. And then number two, it went to court. And the judge decided approximately 4 million. So this is it, right? For the heartache that Cardi B had to suffer, she got compensated, or she is being compensated, correct? So why do we need to go further? Remember now, this is not money Tasha K owed Cardi B. Cardi B did not take out $4 million, lend it to Tasha K, and no need to receive it back. No, this is 4 million on top of what she had that she never had before. So you're being compensated for your pain, the trauma, whatever it cost you, you're being compensated. So now why do we need to talk about the kids? For what? Why is it? And this is where I say we have to be so careful not to become that which we despise. So for me, I remember I left a comment on one of the bloggers because I thought the blogger was going like, and Tasha K did this. And I'm sitting here like, people make mistakes. As a matter of fact, let me say this a different way. I hope we make mistakes. How else do we grow? How else do we grow if we make no mistakes? And I think we're treading dreadfully close to the line of saying everyone must walk in a particular place that we like to call their place. How do we create new pathways if we don't explore? if we don't color outside the lines, if we don't break the lines. Of course, there are consequences. There was a 4 million consequence. I don't see why blood is needed. This is $4 million that she has to take out of her money to give to someone who she never owed any money. You've been compensated for your pain. And we need to know when we've won. So as I'm listening, and I left a comment. The comment I left was, we have to be, Cardi B should be cautious not to put herself in a predicament where the universe starts feeling, hang on here, what are you doing? Because sometimes victims can cause themselves to become perpetrators. We don't want that. You want to remain a victim. I'm not saying this is not about whether or not Tasha K is right or wrong. We're looking at lessons from the ongoing Cardi B and Tasha K legal battle and what it teaches us about accountability, reputation, business decisions, and rebuilding after setback. So when I saw all of that happening, I for the first time, because usually I very seldom leave comments. Why? Because I'm really not a fan. I'm not necessarily like a loyal viewer of bloggers or whatever, but from time to time I will watch because I want to know what's going on. And sometimes I'm bored, and it's entertaining sometimes when it's not cruel, But I remember there were persons replying to me. Well, some liked it, and the host replied and was saying, so is it okay for her to lie on her? I never said that. I'm saying a compensation has been allocated. She has won $4 million. I don't see the need to go for blood. What are we trying to do here? This young lady should never work again. She should never thrive again. She should never. So what are we teaching our kids about invention? What are we teaching our kids about going hard? What are we teaching our kids about? Yes, according to their reports, the person who Tasha K interviewed told a lie, and multiple times Tasha K was asked to pull the video down. She did not. But I understand all of that. I understand all of it, and that's why she's paying for it. In many ways, I don't necessarily think Tasha K was as wrong as we're trying to make it seem. I'm not saying she was right either for the pain and the trauma that it caused Cardi B. What I'm saying is the part of her being what is that? Driven. The part of her being a driven entrepreneur, someone who believes in what she did, and she's thinking, no, I did this. I know. She's thinking what she did was positive. I think in her mind, she's thinking, I'm not lying. I did an interview. I interviewed somebody else, right? Tasha K is not the only blogger. Look at what happened to Meghan, the Sussex lady. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Meghan Markle, the wife of Harry, from the royal family, according to the world. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just don't feed into those things, right? But look at what the media did to her. Look at other people that the media come at. Heck, people will come at me at some point. So what I'm saying is I could understand her being driven and defending her work, even though that defense brought her over the line. But that's why we have a justice system, for when we have people who are eager and excited. Yeah, there are consequences for their actions, and she's paying the consequences. So though I would never have wished this for Cardi B. She doesn't deserve it, right? And rightfully so, she took it to court. But what I don't want missed is that this was not just like a personal attack. This was a young woman who was doing business. We want when you go into business, as a matter of fact, as a business person, you have to be enthusiastic. You have to be driven. You have to defend your work. Sometimes you don't even know that sometimes the work you're defending probably does not need defense. It happens. But again, that's why there is consequence. And the consequence, I'm saying, should be enough. The $4 million approximately or reportedly should be enough. I don't see why we need to now say we're going for blood. And I have seen for myself, I've seen videos of Tasha K begging Cardi B. I've seen videos of her literally talking about how much she's changed. She's working on herself. She's trying to become a better person. Her platform has grown since and evolved since. Because there was a time I just could, I was listening to Tasha K since she just started, but I could never go in depth because she has the gift of a gab man. I'm telling you, she'll go into a story and wrings it out, wring it inside out, you know? For me, like once you start feeling for me like, this is an unnecessary negative pursuit of a story, I'm out, right? But all I'm trying to say is when I sit back and I'm watching people come at Tasha K, like, you know, what she did to Tasha K with Cardi B was such a new thing. It's not new. This is media. Sometimes the hosts go too far. That's why we have consequences, and the consequences should suffice. So that's all I'm saying. We have to also be cautious that we're not saying that people should not be hungry, that people should not be passionate, and people should not go hard. Because I do think people should. And sometimes I wish I wasn't such a coward. I wish I would go hard, because guess what happened now, right? And it's so weird because, like I said, I'm not someone who necessarily comments often on people's thing. But when I saw what was happening, I actually went on Tasha K's video and I left a prayer. I just prayed for abundance for her, because I feel like we want entrepreneurs to know that it's okay to go hard. In business, there will be consequences. You're going to make mistakes. You cannot avoid making mistakes. You will never grow. So while I don't support, I'm not in support of the pain of what happened to Cardi B, but I'm saying she's been compensated. I don't think we need to go as far as to say her kids. How does the kids get into this? I just don't think that is necessary. I don't think it's necessary. But you see, this is why we have to be careful, because guess what happened now? Or cautious. Now, Tasha K has been blessed with a syndication contract. Who knows? Because she already is very popular. She has a very large and strong platform. Who knows if her show is not going to now become the #1 show in the United States. And when Cardi B herself wants to promote her music or whatever she has to do, she may have to sit and think, oh my gosh, I might have to go to Tasha K. I think oftentimes we go beyond the boundaries of punishment to the point where we kill our soldiers. You don't want to kill the soldiers. You might want to punish them or discipline them, but you don't want to kill them. And I think too often that's what we do. Somebody who's passionate, someone who's driven, need guidance. That's it. They need guidance, discipline. She's gotten disciplined. She was disciplined by the court. Now she has to pay $4 million. Let the girl live. I have this thing, right, that I truly, truly believe. There should be specific programs that protect the rights to earn, protect the rights of perpetrators to earn. Even if it's a murderer, even if it's a rapist, no matter who the person is, there's a reason the Bible says, let the wheat and tares grow together. This is how I look at it, right? I take the love your neighbor like you love yourself real seriously. I take it real seriously. I see that as security, as wisdom for security. If you decide that someone is a murderer, they went to prison, served their time, they're out, they don't deserve a job, then you're creating a criminal, aren't you? If the robber, the killer, the rapist, if these people cannot survive and thrive in their life, and I'm not saying they need to have excess, I'm saying they should retain the right to earn a living, to live. They should be able to feed themselves. Because if we have people who are so targeted and torn apart that they can't even earn to make a living, we make ourselves vulnerable, don't we? We make our kids vulnerable, don't we? That's all I'm saying. We really have to think about it, right? When someone has done something wrong, allow the process to be the process. We don't have, because what happens now to me, the people coming at Tasha K, claiming how wrong she was, are being just as wrong as she was. They're doing the same thing. The same way she was going at Cardi B that everybody's saying was so wrong is the same thing they're doing to her. So if you're doing to her that which she did to Cardi B, how can you have any moral ground above her or any moral standing above her when you're both doing the same thing? Let the punishment fit the crime. She's already facing the consequence. And I don't believe in this thing, and I can tell Tasha K does not believe in it either, this thing where you should look like your problems. I think people are even upset that she doesn't look, it's like she's not looking sad enough and dilapidated and drained, and she doesn't look like she's suffering enough. Cardi B is a public figure. And to me, in my opinion, I think worse has been said about her. And I didn't hear about a lawsuit. The whole thing with the STI that Tasha K spoke about, I've heard people talk about her having incidences with men. To me, those that they were saying, whether true or lie, I don't know, right? But I'm just saying, to me, those were worse. When they were saying about how she robbed men and whatever, I even saw someone did some interview or whatever. I just thought, you put yourself in a position. But what I'm saying is, the way we're coming at Tasha K, I've heard worse things said about Cardi B. Where are the lawsuits for that? You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, you're a public figure. It kind of comes with the territory. I'm not saying it's right. I don't think it's okay. But it comes with the territory. So all I'm saying is, that's why you filed your lawsuit. You filed a lawsuit, you won. She's paying. I don't see any report of a payment being missed. And Tasha K even talked about that on her platform. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying people should not be disappointed with Tasha K. I'm not saying that they shouldn't say she should not have done it, but I'm just saying, to the extent that we're talking about her kids not going to college, as though you want to bleed her. For what? You're coming for blood. For what? You already got. So I'm saying, I'm not just saying not to come because you shouldn't come. I'm saying, when we do that, there are also consequences for us. There will be consequences for Cardi B if these are things she's really sitting down saying about Tasha K's kids. And when we're having this commentary, we have to bear those things in mind. Consequences come to us all of us, not just Tasha K. So I just think we should be conscious of it and be mindful that we don't want to put in the minds of young people that they should be so timid that they make no mistakes. They should be so careful and so cautious that they can't even grow, evolve, break through glass ceilings. Yeah, Tasha K's risks cost her, but they're also bringing blessings to her. And I'm so happy for the promotion that she's getting, for the new job and the new opportunities she's getting, because I prayed for it like 2 days before I saw it, the thing. I'm very happy for it, because I just thought it was so unfair. She's already paying the consequences. I don't think her kids need to get involved into this. I don't think she needs to bleed. I don't think she should become desolate, homeless. What are we doing? Let the punishment fit the crime, and know when you've won. Cardi B won. Cardi B won. And this is not me telling Cardi B to shut up either. I'm just saying we ought to be mindful that consequences come to us all. So what does it mean to mature, right? And why are so many women being told that the goal is, oh, I'm so sorry, we're on to the next one. Before we go to the next, so we're going to the next clip now, but I'm just saying, let us make sure that we are mindful that consequences come to us all for whatever we do. And I think when you're a victim of something, maintain that position. Try not to evolve into a perpetrator because you become the very thing you despise, the very thing that hurts you. You're now paying it forward. That's all I'm saying, because we have to know when we've won. And I think Cardi B has won. So there's no need to talk about Tasha K's kids. There's no need. And I also have this thing that I feel too, that let things be fair, no? It's okay. She's on a payment plan. Let her be on a payment plan. Again, we want to encourage young people to try. Yeah. We want them to explore, expand themselves. That's what business is about. Tasha K has a story that young Black girls need to hear. We don't want to kill our soldiers because they made a mistake. We want to lift them up. We want to work with them as they do their self-work. We're not going to pat them on the back when they do something wrong. No. But they don't need to be decimated. Anyway, another story I'd like to another clip, sorry. There's a clip from TikTok that I'd love to comment on. So let's go to that now.
That little stomach, them thighs, them little love handles. Don't be insecure about that. That's grown woman weight. That weight don't make you less attractive. It make you real. You been through life. You're not supposed to look 19. You're supposed to look like a grown woman, because that's what you are. Plus size babe, plus size boo. I don't know about them, but this for you.
Oh man, I might end up having copyright, whatever, but that's okay. It was worth it. I thought this was important to talk about because even today, I was still listening to reports of young kids or young ones being targeted and sexually exploited, and it is something that's important to me. What he said in here, when he said you're supposed to look like a grown woman. You're supposed to look like a grown woman. Let's talk about expectations, identity, appearance, and who gets to define what maturity looks like. This TikTok clip that I'm reacting to raises an interesting question. What does it mean to mature as a woman? And why are so many women being told that the goal is to remain forever young? Now, let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with being youthful. That's what I'll say. Nothing is wrong with being youthful or looking or to glow. Or I don't know what they're looking for. I don't know. For me, I want to look like myself. I want to look like me, whatever that's worth. Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with looking youthful. There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel young, and by that I mean strong, capable, flexible. Yeah. But youth is not a look. Youth is an age. Youth is not a look. It is an age. Yeah, I kicked the thing. Sorry. Right? Being young is not a look. And sometimes persons say to me, "Oh, you look so young." No. I look like me. Being young is not a look, it's an age. And we really need to get into that. We really, really, we need to step into that. Youth is an age, not a look. And because I think that thing making it a look is a dangerous concept. And personally, research doesn't show, but me personally feel that that is coloring how men approach sexuality. That's my personal opinion. And that's why I'm talking about this topic. Eventually, every child becomes an adult. Every young woman becomes a mature woman. Why is it a man gets to age gracefully? A man gets more handsome the more he ages. I think a woman becomes more beautiful or gorgeous or whatever you want to call it, more full. She fattens as she ages is how I feel. Just like every other thing, like the fruits get better when they age and they ripen. The riper the fruit, the sweeter the juice, they say. The sweeter the juice, right? That's what they say. So why does that not apply when it comes to women? The question isn't whether we age. The question is whether we learn to celebrate it. And here are 5 reasons maturing as a woman is something to celebrate. Increased confidence. Research consistently shows that many women report becoming more comfortable with themselves as they age. With maturity often comes greater self-acceptance and less dependence on external validation. And that is a plus for women, but I also think it's the thing that works against us sometimes. Like, as I listen to dialogue, even listening to men, it's as though they think confidence is a threat. Number 2, wisdom comes from experience. All of these positive things somehow becomes weaknesses when it comes to the opposite sex. How? Why? Doesn't make sense. A mature woman has lived through successes, mistakes, heartbreaks, victories, disappointments, and growth. Wisdom is earned. You cannot shortcut experience. Number 3, stronger identity. Many younger women are still discovering who they are. Maturity often brings greater clarity about values, boundaries, relationships, priorities, and purpose, which is why when you want to hire a woman for like a job or something where you want it to excel, you don't go for young, you go for mature. So why does that not apply when it comes to beauty standards and sexuality? Number 4, greater emotional stability. That's actually when they're ready for relationships. For those who are looking for successful relationships. Life experiences help many women develop resilience, discernment, and emotional regulation that cannot be purchased or imitated. And number 5, freedom from constant performance. Research on aging and body image suggests many women become less controlled by beauty expectations as they move through different life stages. Now, the bigger cultural question: if society constantly tells women that beauty means looking younger, and remember what we said, young is not a look, it's an age. But if society continues constantly tells women that beauty means look younger, what message does that send about adulthood? What message does it send about maturity? What message does it send about women who naturally age? Researchers have documented how ageism and beauty standards often place a higher value on youthful appearance while treating visible aging as something to hide or correct. Now, the childhood connection. Another concern, and this is my concern, raised by researchers is that highly sexualized beauty ideals often emphasize traits associated with youthfulness. That's the problem that I have. Because I don't think it's by accident that we're doing this, because I feel like this is only done when it comes to sexuality, attractiveness, which is back to sexuality. That's when I think it happens, and I think that is intentional, and I think that's predatory. It's a predator who looks at it that way. That's my opinion. Becomes predatory, yes. Studies have shown that beauty standards and the parents' pressures begin affecting girls at extremely young ages. Some research found girls as young as 3 to 5 years old already placing significant importance on being pretty and attractive. I've heard persons say, "Well, you look so old for your age. How you look saying like a child looks grown." Young is not a look; it's an age. Young is not a look, it's an age. Researchers have also documented how social media and highly sexualized beauty imagery can contribute to body dissatisfaction, unrealistic appearance expectations, and pressure among adolescents. Why would any man want to be with a child? Or someone who is childlike? Something's wrong with that. No? This does not mean youthful appearance causes harmful behavior, but it does raise an important question. Are we teaching society to appreciate youth, or are we teaching society to worship youth? And I'll say this. Are we teaching society to sexualize young? Because that's where I have the problem. Because when it comes to a job, we're not, unless it's quote unquote modeling, I don't even know what job that is. Unless that's what it is, they're looking for mature people. So why wouldn't you do that for relationships? I feel like it's an agenda. I think it's intentional. Why would you want to confuse the mind about youthfulness and maturity? Why would we want to do that? There's a thing called sensory adaptation where after a while, it's like, I think what happens to men after a while, men who hyper focus on this youthful beauty thing, I think after a while they can't even tell the difference. I think that is the reason, because there's a serious issue, according to the research, according to the reports, a serious issue of pedophilia that is being experienced right now. Kids are going missing. The whole Epstein Island thing. There's a problem. And I think it's because we've constantly been having this conditioning that sexy is young. And there's so much more to dig into under that whole thing. Sexy is young. Fertility. Purity. All that we've been conditioning. How are we conditioning ourselves, or men, our women, because women do it too? How are we conditioning our minds for sexuality, for sexual attraction? Does that not matter? Isn't it dangerous to confuse young and mature, especially considering the impact that could have on one's mind when it comes to sexuality? Isn't that dangerous? Because I think it is. I don't even care for youthful appearances. What is that? These words we use. Do you look like yourself? I think that's what's important. Do you look like yourself? Do you feel like yourself? You're too fat. You're too skinny. You're too this. You're too that. So surface level. So meaningless. Isn't it? Oh, well, maybe it's because I'm fat and ugly why I feel this way. I don't know. But I like my fat and ugly. I look like me, so I'm good with it. I love how I look, because when I look at me, I see the person that I know me to be. Grown, confident. I know who I am. Yes. And this is the version of me that I want to experience in a relationship, because the version of me that was not confident, that did not know myself, did not love myself, I would not want to see that girl in a relationship. She would have nothing to offer but insecurity. Where's the fun in that? Anyway, are we teaching society to appreciate youth, or are we teaching society to worship youth? Because those are not the same thing. Aging is not a failure. Maturity is not a downgrade. Again, we're only having these discussions when it comes to sexuality because we don't feel that way about the fruits. We don't feel that way about our stocks when it starts growing, our money when it starts growing and maturing. We don't feel that way. Growing older does not reduce a woman's value. To me, it increases it. A child should be allowed to be a child, and there should be no comparison, especially in the area of attractiveness. There should be no comparison with an adult and a child. Youth is not a look, it's an age. So you don't look young. You either are young or you're not. A young woman should be allowed to be young, and a mature woman should be allowed to mature without feeling pressured to compete with her younger self. And I think a woman who's competing with her younger self is a woman who's trapped at a certain age. She's not maturing. She's not growing. No, I don't think any self-loving woman wants to look 12. Look 12, because youth is not a look. 12 years old is not a look. It's an age. But in today's world, look 12, but be 55. Why? To me, that is the absence of self-love. There are issues, there are psychological issues there, in my opinion. There are mental issues there. It's something going on upstairs. Because who are you trying to look like a kid for? And why would you want to look like a kid for them? And doesn't it make you sick that they would want you to look like a kid? Especially if sex gets into the conversation. Youth is an age. Maturity is an achievement. Young is to be protected, not sexualized. Young is to be protected, not sexualized. And that brings us to the end of Allegedly for today. I'm Coach Racquel. Please stick around. We're going now to Unbox Solutions with me, our next segment. All right? Oh, there's a comment. Let's go to the comments. Oh, hello, Next Level Shopper. I know this person. He said, when it comes to youthfulness, there ought to be barriers. I agree. Certain lines simply should not be crossed, period. And you're correct. You're absolutely correct. But this isn't right. Well, let me ask you this. What do you think about the statement, young is not an age, is not a look, it's an age? If you're still there, Next Level Shopper, what do you think about that? Do you agree with that? And also, right here where you say, where you said, when it comes to youthfulness, there ought to be barriers. Can you explain a little bit? What kind of barriers are we talking about? Are we talking about at a certain, I'm not sure. What barriers? Are you still there? Or you're gone? But thank you for your comment. Thank you so much. That is at Next Level Shopper. Support this person, please. Thank you so much for your comment. But yes, there should be barriers. I think the barrier should be that's an interesting one. Barriers, right? Because what are we going to say? You should not be. For example, the clothes size you wear, the way your body looks. Well, I'm not sure what would be the barriers. Let me see. What kind of barriers can be set to protect youthfulness, youthfulness, to protect youth. Let me put youth. Let's see what comes up here. It's interesting what comes up. 6 key barriers to children's rights and well-being. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, this is a different thing. But it's an interesting comment. Thank you for your comment. I would have liked to know, when you say barriers, what do you mean? I would have loved to hear that. What do you mean exactly when you say there should be barriers? Is it where we're saying that we should prevent adults from entering youth spaces or claiming youth positions? What exactly, when you say barriers, what exactly do you mean? I would have loved to have heard a little more about that. But thank you so much for your comment, and I totally agree with you for whatever it's worth. There should be barriers. You know, I think, yeah, that's something I think I'd like to read up some more on. Anyway, we're going to move on now to our next segment. And thank you so much for that comment at Next Level Shopper.
And now, allegedly, where we slow the story down. This is about insight versus impact, learning from what we observe. Instead of paying the price ourselves, their experiences become our education. So growth doesn't have to come with damage.